You gotta have one of these things. It's a lifesaver. In China, it is a necessity. Oh yeah, because you never know what the AQI is gonna be. You need one of these things. I mean, especially in Beijing. I mean, come on, look at the sky. I mean, I guess it's nice today.
But one of the costs.
Over the past 4 decades, China's economy has maintained high-speed growth and drawn worldwide attention with its achievements. However, the pollution that comes with it, particularly that of the air, has also drawn worldwide attention. Smog was once even a synonym of China.
The first time that I came, everyone said to me, "Be careful of the air." I didn't really know what to expect.
In my impression is continuous almost 1 week, even longer. And also the area is not Beijing, it's not Hebei, it's also including Shanxi, Shandong, and Henan province. So it's large area and long time.
The Great London smog at the end of the last century or early into this century in Los Angeles, the smog starting in the 40s, really for several decades around then.
We have similarities with London because of coal. We have similarities with Los Angeles because of the vehicle. But in total, we have, I think it's more complex and more difficulties to handle.
In 2013, the average number of smog days reached its highest record in China in 52 years. Smog seriously threatened people's health, their daily lives, and work. Its impact had extended to every socioeconomic aspect. Calls to tackle the smog were accumulating. But unlike London or Los Angeles, China's air pollution was more complicated and compounded by varying regional climates and environments. So the challenge to control the smog was more significant.
Carol, you want to try or? What do you think about the air quality in China?
Of course, the pollution is all over in the world.
London might be a little bit better, but we still got the same issues.
Sometimes it's quite harsh, but most of the time it's all right.
I find I don't have to wear a mask as often.
The overall trend is usually getting better, at least in Beijing.
The environment is people's livelihood. Forest-covered mountains are beautiful. The blue sky is a bliss. In 2018, the ratio of average good air days in 338 prefecture-level cities and above was 79.3%, which was 1.3 percentage points higher than last year.
China is one of the countries that contribute a great volume of air pollutants on Earth. It is one of the parties that ratified the Paris Agreement, which aims to minimize the effect of climate change. The signatories agreed in 2015 to limit the increase in Earth's temperature. This is through the reduction of carbon dioxide emission coming from fossil fuel. Aside from vehicles, many industries in China highly depend on fossil fuel. Coal-powered plants are major pollution contributors, but the scenario changed in the beginning of 2020 when the coronavirus disease 2019 hit China. The National Aeronautics and Space Administration or NASA and the European Space Agency have observed through their air pollution monitoring satellites significant decreases and changes in the pollution level in the world's most populous country. The color yellow, red, and black on this map of China show the level of pollution from January 1 to January 20 before the COVID-19 outbreak spread. But from February 10 to February 25, a decline in the pollution level was noticeable. The image, meanwhile, shows the level of pollution from January 1 to February 25 in 2019 in Wuhan City. But during the same period, the satellite captured a significant reduction in the level of pollution at ground zero of the coronavirus outbreak. Since the beginning of COVID-19 outbreak, fuel demand has decreased because of cancelled flights and drops in trade in different countries due to the travel bans. Major cities in China also implemented a lockdown which has limited transportation. Ray Pelayo, UNTV, News and Rescue, Quezon City.
Richard Southern joins us now. Richard, we're seeing some startling new images from China in the original epicenter of the coronavirus.
Yeah, I thought this was really quite something. The coronavirus, Faiza, is cleaning the air in China. On the left here, this is pollution. So on the left is January, and on the right is February. I mean, it's quite dramatic. I mean, that big pollution levels there in January over the the industrial heartland of China, but all that is gone. Of course, entire towns, some the size of New York City, have been shut down amid the coronavirus. Typically, in February, pollution levels in China surge after the Chinese New Year celebrations, when factories reopen and people take to the streets and start to do a lot of driving. That's not the case this year, as everything gets shut down because of the coronavirus. So.
The rapidly spreading coronavirus has infected 90,000 people worldwide, stoked fears about a pandemic, and rattled global markets. However, the outbreak is also having an unexpected environmental effect. It is drastically cutting carbon emissions, according to NASA and the European Space Agency.
So right now we're seeing drops in both carbon emissions as well as nitrogen dioxide. Carbon emissions are down by about 25%. Nitrogen dioxide is down by about 30%.
That drop translates to a 6% decline in overall global emissions. With travel restrictions, factory shutdowns, and tepid consumer demand for products, China's use of fossil fuels has plummeted, and coal use is at a 4-year low.
Three biggest contributors to these emissions are power production, so electricity production from burning fossil fuels, passenger vehicles, so people getting in their cars and driving, and industrial manufacturing. So all three of these have been scaled back during this crisis.
The 3-week decline is roughly equal to the amount of carbon dioxide that major American states such as New York put out in a full year. Many fear the dip in pollution is temporary.
So when we see a slowdown in economic activity due to this virus outbreak, we see a massive drop in all of these emissions. And so you might also expect that the inverse is also true, that as the outbreak gets more under control and economic activity continues to comes back up, we'll see these emissions rise again.
China is the leading emitter of greenhouse gas emissions in the world, having surpassed the United States in 2005.
Based on data from the Copernicus Sentinel-5P satellite, this animation shows the variation of nitrogen dioxide emissions from the 20th of December 2019 to the 16th of March 2020.
Nitrogen dioxide is a gas emitted during the combustion of fossil fuels. It's released from the tailpipes of cars and the smokestacks of power plants. Together, these emissions affect the quality of air we breathe. Since 2004, an instrument aboard NASA's Aura satellite has measured levels of nitrogen dioxide in Earth's atmosphere. In 2014, we released satellite images that show how environmental regulations have led to reductions in nitrogen dioxide over major U.S. cities. Now we created global maps that allow us to see how levels have changed around the world over the last decade. In Western Europe, despite the recent vehicle emissions scandal, nitrogen dioxide levels have decreased by as much as 50% due to tighter environmental controls. In China, we see an increase in levels over most of the country due to a rise in coal use for power generation, but decreases for some cities like Beijing, where a growing middle class is now demanding cleaner air. In the Middle East, we see decreases in nitrogen dioxide levels over Syria due to the country's civil war and displacement of its population. Meanwhile, levels have gone up in neighboring countries where millions of Syrians have taken refuge. In the US, the only increases are in regions with intensive oil and natural gas extraction, including fracking. In North Dakota and Texas, we see increases of 30% in some areas. By monitoring levels of nitrogen dioxide from space, we can see and quantify the effects of things like energy usage, environmental policy, and even civil unrest on air quality across the globe.